It's time for you all to wake up and shift your paradigm. This world is the kingdom of darkness, and we are living in its last days. It won't be long before the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. The heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with fervent heat, and the earth and everything therein shall be burnt up. The Luciferian elite have been setting up the New World Order, and now they've established the globalist beast system for the rise of that wicked one and revealing of the man of sin, who comes after the workings of Satan. Don't take my word for it. Read the Bible, and you'll know that perilous times shall come in the last days. And we are in the last days. And sisters, and welcome to another edition of the Remnant Report. I am your host, the Remnant Warrior, and today we are going to be talking about Kabbalah once again, and this is in preparation for our upcoming episode that is going to be fantastic with Sister Deanne Loper, Odd Man Out from the Odd Man Out podcast, and coming back with us, all-time favorite brother Benjamin Chárles, the creator of the Kabbalah documentary Religion of the Serpent. But today we are going to be watching some video clips from, to begin with, Albert Pike describing what Kabbalah truly is. Then we are going to hear from the rabbis themselves describe Kabbalah in Rabbinic Judaism, and I will be giving commentary throughout the various video clips. So let's go ahead, and without any further ado, let's get this thing started.
One is filled with admiration on penetrating into the sanctuary of the Kabbalah, at seeing a doctrine so logical, so simple, and at the same time so absolute. The necessary union of ideas and signs, the consecration of the most fundamental realities by the primitive characters, the trinity of words, letters, and numbers, is a philosophy as simple as the alphabet, profound and infinite as the word. Theorems more complete and luminous than those of Pythagoras, a theology summed up by counting on one's fingers. An infinite which can be held in the hollow of an infant's hand, 10 ciphers and 22 letters, a triangle, a square, and a circle. These are all the elements of the Kabbalah. These are the elementary principles of the written word, a reflection of that spoken word that created the world. Hebrew theology was divided into 3 distinct parts. The first was the law, the second was the soul of the law, and the third was the soul of the law. The law was taught to all the children of Israel, and the Mishnah, or the soul of the law, was revealed to the rabbins and teachers. But the Kabbalah, the soul of the law, was cunningly concealed, and only the highest initiates among the Jews were instructed in its secret principles. According to certain Jewish mystics, Moses ascended Mount Sinai 3 times, remaining in the presence of God 40 days each time. During the first 40 days, the tables of the written law were delivered to the prophet. During the second 40 days, he received the soul of the law, and during the last 40 days, God instructed him in the mysteries of the Kabbalah, the soul of the law. Moses concealed in the first 4 books of the Pentateuch the secret instructions that God had given him, and for centuries students of Kabbalism have sought therein the secret doctrine of Israel. As the spiritual nature of man is concealed in his physical body, so the unwritten law, the Mishnah and the Kabbalah, is concealed within the written teachings of the Mosaic Code. Kabbalah means the secret or hidden tradition, the unwritten law, and according to an early rabbi, it was delivered to man in order that through the aid of its abstruse principles, he might learn to understand the mystery of both the universe about him and the universe within him. The origin of Kabbalism is a legitimate subject of controversy. Early initiates of the Kabbalistic mysteries believed that its principles were first taught by God to a school of his angels before the fall of man. The angels later communicated the secrets to Adam, so that through the knowledge gained from an understanding of its principles, fallen humanity might regain its lost state. The angel Raziel was dispatched from heaven to instruct Adam in the mysteries of the Kabbalah. Different angels were employed to initiate the succeeding patriarchs in this difficult science. Tophiel was the teacher of Shem, Raphael of Isaac, Metatron of Moses, and Michael of David. Christian D. Ginsburg has written, "From Adam, it passed over to Noah and then to Abraham, the friend of God, who emigrated with it to Egypt, where the patriarch allowed a portion of this mysterious doctrine to ooze out. It was in this way that the Egyptians obtained some knowledge of it, and the other Eastern nations could introduce it into their philosophical systems. Moses, who was learned in all the wisdom of Egypt, was first initiated into it in the land of his birth, but became most proficient in it during his wanderings in the wilderness, when he not only devoted to it the leisure hours of the whole 40 years, but received lessons in it from one of the angels. Moses also initiated the 70 elders into the secrets of this doctrine, and they again transmitted them from hand to hand. Of all who formed the unbroken line of tradition, David and Solomon were most initiated into the Kabbalah. According to Eliphas Levi, the 3 greatest books of Kabbalism are the Sefer Yetzirah, also known as the Book of Formation, the Sefer HaZohar, the Book of Splendor, and the Apocalypse, the Book of Revelation. The dates of the writing of these books are by no means thoroughly established. Kabbalists declare that the Sefer Yetzirah was written by Abraham. Although it is by far the oldest of the Kabbalistic books, it was probably from the pen of the Rabbi Akiba. The Sefer HaZohar presumably was written by Simeon ben Jochai, a disciple of Akiba. Rabbi Simeon was sentenced to death by Lucius Verus, co-regent of Emperor Mark Aurelius Antoninus. He escaped with his son, and hiding in a cave transcribed the manuscript of the Zohar with the assistance of Elias, who appeared to them at intervals. Simeon spent 12 years in the cave, during which time he evolved the complicated symbolism of the greater face and the lesser face. While discoursing with disciples, Rabbi Simeon expired, and the lamp of Israel was extinguished. His death and burial were accompanied by many supernatural phenomena. The legend goes on to relate that the secret doctrines of Kabbalism had been in existence since the beginning of the world, but that Rabbi Simeon was the first man permitted to reduce them to writing. 1200 years later, the books which he had compiled were discovered and published for the benefit of humanity by Moses de Leon. The probability is that Moses de Leon himself compiled the Zohar, drawing his material from the unwritten secrets of earlier Jewish mystics. The Apocalypse, accredited to St. John the Divine, is also of uncertain date, and the identity of its author has never been satisfactorily proved. This rare cut shows the name of God in 72 languages inscribed upon the petals of a symbolic sunflower. Above the circle are the 72 powers of God according to the Hebrew Kabbalah. Below are 2 trees, that on the left bearing the symbols of the planets, and on the right the signs of the zodiac and the names of the tribes of Israel. The esoteric doctrines of the Kabbalah are in alignment with the secret teachings of all the schools of philosophy, but the method by which its secrets are revealed to the wise and concealed from the ignorant is most unusual. As the religious world interprets its scriptures with 20th century educational facilities, it becomes ever more apparent that the sacred books were not historical documents, but that the kings, sages, prophets and saviors, whom Bible students have revered for ages as once existing personalities, are in reality only personified attributes of man himself. The Zohar contains a vast number of philosophical tenets, and a paraphrase of its salient points is embodied in this work. Few realize the influence exerted by Kabbalism over medieval thought, both Christian and Jewish. It taught that there existed within the sacred writings a hidden doctrine which was the key to those writings. This is symbolized by the crossed keys upon the papal crest. Scores of learned minds began to search for those arcane truths by which the race should be redeemed, and that their labor was not without its reward, as their subsequent writings have demonstrated. The theories of Kabbalism are inextricably interwoven with the tenets of alchemy, Hermeticism, Rosicrucianism, and Freemasonry. The words Kabbalism and Hermeticism are now considered as synonymous terms, covering all the arcana and esotericism of antiquity. The simple Kabbalism of the first centuries of the Christian era gradually evolved into an elaborate theological system, which became so involved that it was next to impossible to comprehend its dogma. The Kabbalists divided the uses of their sacred science into 5 sections. The natural Kabbalah was used solely to assist the investigator in his study of nature's mysteries. The analogical Kabbalah was formulated to exhibit the relationship that exists between all things in nature, and it revealed to the wise that all creatures and substances were one in essence, and that man, the little universe, was a replica in miniature of God, the great universe. The contemplative Kabbalah was evolved for the purpose of revealing through the higher intellectual faculties the mysteries of the celestial spheres. With its aid, the abstract reasoning faculties cognize the measureless planes of infinity and learn to know the creatures existing within them. The astrological Kabbalah instructed those who studied its law in the power, magnitude, and actual substance of the sidereal bodies, and also revealed the mystical constitution of the planet itself. The 5th, or magical Kabbalah, was studied by such who desired to gain control over the demons and subhuman intelligence of the invisible worlds. It was also highly valued as a method of healing the sick by talismans, amulets, charms, and invocations. The Sefer Yetzirah, according to Adolf Frank, differs from other sacred books in that it does not explain the world and the phenomena of which it is the stage by leaning on the idea of God, or by setting itself up as the interpreter of the supreme will. As the narrative of Kabbalism unfurls from the mists of antiquity, it reveals itself not merely as a repository of ancient wisdom, but as a dynamic force that continues to evolve and adapt to the changing contours of spiritual inquiry and human consciousness. Far from being an arcane relic, Kabbalism's core tenets resonate with contemporary quests for deeper understanding and integration of the diverse aspects of existence. In the modern era, where the dichotomy between science and spirituality increasingly blurs, Kabbalism offers a unique framework for exploring the interplay between these realms. Its mystical interpretation of the universe, grounded in symbols, numbers, and letters, parallels modern scientific discoveries in quantum physics and cosmology, suggesting a profound interconnectedness of all things. This synthesis of ancient mysticism and contemporary science invites a re-evaluation of our understanding of reality, emphasizing the underlying unity and coherence of the cosmos. Kabbalism's emphasis on personal transformation and enlightenment also finds echoes in modern psychological theories, particularly those exploring the depths of the unconscious mind. The Kabbalistic tree of life, with its sephirotic emanations, can be viewed as a map of the human psyche, offering insights into the journey of self-discovery and the integration of disparate aspects of the self. Carl Jung writes, "In a tract of the Lurianic Kabbalah, the remarkable idea is developed that man is destined to become God's helper in the attempt to restore the vessels that were broken when God thought to create a world." Only a few weeks ago, I came across this impressive doctrine that gives meaning to man's status, exalted by the incarnation. This psychological dimension of Kabbalism bridges the spiritual and the therapeutic, providing tools for navigating the complexities of the human condition. The Kabbalah, more than a mere system of esoteric thought or a relic of bygone ages, remains a living bridge to the transcendent, offering keys to unlock the mysteries of creation and the human soul's place within it. Its principles, though shrouded in secrecy and symbolism, resonate with the universal search for meaning and the interconnectivity of all existence. Through the study of its sacred texts, the Sefer Yetzirah, the Zohar, and the Apocalypse scholars and seekers alike delve into the depths of metaphysical speculation, exploring realms beyond the grasp of ordinary consciousness. These texts, attributed to venerable sages and prophets, serve not only as conduits to divine wisdom, but also as mirrors reflecting the multifaceted aspects of human understanding. The influence of Kabbalism extends beyond the confines of Jewish mysticism, permeating the fabric of Western esoteric traditions. Its concepts and symbols have been woven into the tapestries of Hermeticism, alchemy, Rosicrucianism, and Freemasonry, revealing the shared heritage of humanity's spiritual endeavors. In this confluence of streams of thought, Kabbalism emerges as a fundamental force, enriching the philosophical and mystical landscapes with its insights and revelations. The Kabbalistic journey, characterized by the pursuit of esoteric knowledge and the transformation of the self, embodies the eternal human aspiration to bridge the finite and the infinite. It teaches that within the heart of the mundane lies the seed of the divine, and that through contemplation, study, and the practice of virtue, individuals can ascend the ladder of spiritual enlightenment. As we stand at the crossroads of the past and the future, the teachings of the Kabbalah invite us to look inward and upward, to unravel the mysteries that bind the universe and the soul. In this quest, the Kabbalah serves not as an end, but as a beginning, a portal to the boundless realms of spirit and the infinite vistas of understanding. Thus, the legacy of Kabbalistic wisdom endures, a beacon of light illuminating the path toward universal truths and the harmonious unity of all beings. Each thread of Kabbalistic thought contributes to the unfolding pattern of cosmic and human evolution, affirming the timeless relevance of this ancient yet ever-new philosophy. Thank you for venturing with us through the shadowed corridors of the unseen. If whispers from beyond have stirred the ember of curiosity within you, bless the video with a like and embark further on this enigmatic journey by subscribing to Vox Occulta. Together, we shall unravel the veils that shroud the arcane mysteries of the occult realm, illuminating the path less traveled, where secrets await the daring of heart.
What is Kabbalah? Kabbalah is an ancient occult system of belief, philosophy, cosmology, and most importantly, it's a discipline of ceremonial magic. It is vital to understand that Kabbalah is the antithesis to biblical Christianity and fundamentally opposes Jesus Christ as God.
It will also demonstrate that the God of today's Babylonian and Kabbalistic Judaism is not the God of the Bible, and that the current convergence of Christians coming under rabbinic authority will bring them not to the one true God of the Bible, but to the subservience of the God of Kabbalah, Ein Sof, and to its hierarchy of gods. This book will further show that the God of Kabbalah is none other than Lucifer, the serpent and angel of light, whom the sages prophesy will restore knowledge to humanity on a global scale, just as he did in Genesis.
The philosophy and doctrines of the Kabbalah are the foundation of the Illuminati. It is a cornerstone of Freemasonry and all occult secret societies,
as well as the New Age, Gnostic, Luciferian, and Babylonian mystery religions.
Okay, brothers and sisters, we have heard what the Freemasons admit Kabbalah is. We have heard Brother Benjamin Chárles break down what Kabbalah is from his awesome documentary, The Religion of the Serpent. And we are about to hear just how horrible of a theology that the Kabbalist rabbis believe in on life, death, the soul, and this is only what they believe in as far as themselves. They have this elitist mentality, as you're going to see and hear, that they don't believe life is even only they deserve the things that you'll hear this rabbi talking about, as you'll see from our very first clip, where the rabbi is explaining exactly what they believe the goyim or Gentiles deserve, and that will actually be shown a whole lot more detailed in part 2 of this series. And like I said, this series is a segue into our episode with Sister Deanne Loafer, Odd Man, and Brother Benjamin Chárles. But I am going to shut up now, and we are going to go to our final video footage and clips that I've put together for you guys. So without any further ado, here they go.
Can't really argue that the Goyim are going to be annihilated. That's not really an option for all the Nevuos, all the prophecies. And not only Goyim as individuals, you could say that we broke down their nationalities, and there are a whole bunch of Yechidim running around. No, as nations even. As Goyim, they're gone. Their personality, as they exist, they atzmam, as they would exist independently of Klal Yisrael, they don't exist. In modern terminology, they call it cultural genocide.
Say, do you believe in life after death? And people are stunned. That sounds like a very deep question. And, we're not so philosophical. Do you believe in life after death? The expression is wrong, misleading, and confusing. What does it mean, life after death? What are you talking about? Are you asking me whether something that has died is alive? That's nonsense. If it died, then it's not alive. Because if it was alive, then it didn't die. So what does it mean, is there life after death? A human being is defined in Torah as a creature with a body and a soul. Because in the story of creation, it says God formed a body and then breathed into it a soul, and it was a man, a mensch. So what is a mensch? Not a body alone, and not a soul alone, but a body with a soul, or a soul in a body. Every life has a certain span. Every person is given a certain number of years. When those years are up, the soul and the body go their separate ways. They each return to their natural habitat. And that is the expression from dust to dust. The body goes back to the ground because that's where it came from. It was made from the earth, and it goes back to the earth. The soul goes back to where souls come from, wherever that is. When the soul and the body separate, we call that death. But what actually happened when the body and soul separate? The body is not a living thing. By its very nature, it is earth. It's not a living thing. It only lives because the soul gives it life. The soul, on the other hand, is a living thing. It is alive. So when we ask the question, is there life after death? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the body, or are we talking about the soul? Either way, the question makes no sense. Because if you're talking about the body, and you're asking, is the body alive after it dies? Not a very good question. Of course not. If you're asking, is the soul alive after it leaves the body? That's not a good question either. Because, of course, yes. A living thing can't die. Life can't die. It's just a logical, necessary assumption. Life can't die. Death can't live. So is there life after death? What does that mean? What's alive is always alive. Not after death, always. So the only real question, only logical question should be, where does life go when it leaves the body? That's a good question. And I don't know the answer. That's what makes it a good question. But is there life when it leaves the body? The soul is more alive when it leaves the body. Because while it's in the body, it has to schlep this thing around. It's like a locomotive. Can a locomotive move when it's disconnected from the 300 cars? Can it move? Yes, it can move a lot easier. So the soul is a locomotive. The body is like the cars, the caboose. So for 120 years, the locomotive schleps this body around and gives it life. When it separates from the body, it becomes more alive. What does life mean? Life means feelings. Life means knowledge. Life means sensitivity. How much knowledge can a soul have when it has to work through a little brain? It's limited. How much sensitivity can the soul experience when it has to experience it through an insensitive body? It's limited. How much emotion can a soul feel when it has to do it through a human heart? It's limited. And that's why there were times in the olden days when people would die from excitement, from heartbreak. Why? Because the heart couldn't take it. The soul was feeling more than the heart could take. But when the soul is not attached to the body, it feels those same feelings more intensely. It understands what it had studied or what it had thought more deeply. It's now free to live without restrictions. So when people say, God forbid a husband dies leaving a wife, or a wife dies leaving a husband, does the soul in heaven still feel, care, know? The answer is, what do you mean still? Now it really feels. If it could feel love or compassion or devotion through a human heart that is only so big, imagine how much love it feels now that it's not restricted to that little heart. And it doesn't have to worry about whether the heart can take it. Now it can really feel. So it's hard for us to imagine how much emotion is a soul capable of when it is not restricted by the human heart. How much knowledge and understanding is a soul capable of when it doesn't have to work through the little brain. How much does the soul see when it doesn't have to see through eyes? How much does it hear when it doesn't have to hear through the ears? So is the soul still alive? Not still alive. Now it is fully alive. I'll tell you an interesting story. We have this seminar for women, Beis Chana. It's 30 years now, more than 30 years. Women come during vacation times from college, from work, from all over the world, for a couple of weeks, for a month, to get a crash course on Judaism. You know how life is strange? There are women who come from Israel to St. Paul, Minnesota, to study Judaism. One year, many years ago, a girl came to Beis Chana. She was 16. Her mother begged her to come because from the time she was 13, she had told her parents that she wants to be a Mormon. You know what is a Mormon? This girl grew up in Brooklyn. She went to a day school all her life. When she was 13, she decided she wants to be a Mormon. She told her mother, the mother says, "What's a Mormon?" She had no idea what that was. At first, they thought they would pass. They took her to a psychiatrist eventually. They had the grandfather come flying in to talk to her, the rabbi of the shul, the principal of the day school. Gar nicht geholfen. She wants to be a Mormon. Finally, when she was 16, she tells her parents she's going to Utah because she has to be a Mormon. So the parents prevailed on her to make a stop in Minneapolis, and it's on the way. So she did them a favor and she stopped off in Minneapolis. I tried to talk to her. There was no chance. I said, "Why are you going to Utah?" She says, "I'm going to find out if they have the truth." I said, "How are you going to know if they have the truth? Are you going to ask them? Do you have the truth?" That's how you're going to find out. What do you know about truth? What are you going? She said, "I just have to go." And there was no talking to her. Fine. Next morning, she goes down to the office, and she's on the telephone with the airline, making arrangements to continue her journey to Utah. But the secretary of the Chabad house was on the other line, talking to a Baptist, Northern Baptist, to a church group who were coming to the Chabad house for a lecture. This girl hears this and she says to the secretary, "They're coming to Chabad house for a lecture?" The secretary says, "Yeah." The girl said, "Why?" And the secretary, who wasn't Jewish, says, "To learn, I guess." Anyway, the girl got very curious and she said, "Wait, I got to see this." So she canceled her flight and she stayed 2 extra days. And a group of ministers, see, I get invited to speak there at their seminary for the graduating class. A year after they graduate, and they've been out in the field for a year, they come back for a retreat, and part of the program is that they come to the Chabad house, first-year ministers. So about 30 ministers come to the Chabad house, and the students of Beis Chana, the Jewish women, are sitting around the walls, the periphery of the room, and there are 30 ministers in the center of the room. And I'm familiar with the routine. They came to ask questions about Judaism, but really, they want to know what I think about their religion. That's really why they come. About their religion. So they ask me 2 or 3 questions about Judaism, and then they start asking me questions about their religion. So I was familiar with this, I wasn't surprised. But all these women from all over the world, they couldn't believe it. They're all sitting there. And when it comes to the questions, one of the ministers said, what are the different types of labor you're not allowed to perform on Shabbos? We talked about that for a while. Then somebody said, what is this holiday Lag BaOmer? They had done their homework. We talked about that for a few minutes. And then it began. Question. Do you believe in heaven and hell? I said, of course. When the soul leaves the body, it goes back to where souls come from. Now, a soul that comes back to the world of souls, and it still looks like a soul, and it still smells like a soul, well, it just picks up where it left off, and it fits right in, and it's paradise. But a soul comes back after 100 years on earth, and it kind of smells like a body, not like a soul. It's got an earthy smell to it. Well, that's very embarrassing, and that's hell. The burning of hell is the burning with shame, not a physical fire. A soul is ashamed because it doesn't smell like a soul. And so it goes through hell until that smell wears off. Then it's in paradise. And that smell can only last up to a maximum of 12 months. That's why we say Kaddish for 11 months. Because why do you think my relative needed the whole 12 months? So we say for 11 months, just in case. But we don't want to make it look bad and say the whole 12 months. So we say for 11 months out of respect for the soul. And to believe that hell goes on forever is not kosher, it's not allowed, it's idolatry. Because evil cannot go on forever. Only good is eternal, not evil. Now, of course, this is not what they're taught, and this is not what they believe, but they're very glad to hear it. Because eternal damnation is a very painful, difficult concept. So nobody objected. They went on to the next question. And these Jewish women are sitting around and say, wait a minute, why don't they argue? Next question. Do you believe in the resurrection? I said, of course. After Mashiach comes, every soul will come back into its body. That's the ultimate perfection of the world. Souls don't stay in heaven forever. They come back to earth for a very simple reason. The reward that the soul receives in heaven is for the mitzvahs it performed while it was on earth. Right? But to perform a mitzvah, you have to have a body. So the soul could not perform the mitzvah without the body. So why is it getting all the reward? Does that make sense? To be rewarded properly, the body has to share in the reward, because the body shared in the mitzvah. And that's why ultimately the true reward is when the soul comes back into the body and together they are rewarded with a perfect world. This is not what they're taught. But nobody objected. Next question. Do you believe in Satan? I said, of course. Satan is an angel. An angel means a messenger. A messenger has no agenda of his own. He's an angel. He does what God tells him to do, and that's all he cares about, and that's all he knows. To do what God told him to do. Unfortunately, Satan gets to do all the dirty work. Gets all the dirty jobs. But to think that Satan has some kind of an agenda and he's at war with God, that's Greek mythology. You're not allowed to believe that. No objections. Next question. Do you believe in the Messiah? I said, of course. Mashiach is a descendant of King David. He will inspire the world, bring peace to the world. But it's not a matter of believing. Just to believe that someday there will be a Messiah. The sooner we get back to keeping all the commandments, the sooner he will come. Of course, this is not what they're told. But a guy raises his hand, that's sitting right in front of me, a minister, raises his hand, and he says, is there anything we can do to help? This girl who was on her way to Omaha, who was on her way to Utah, she had been sitting at the edge of her seat, literally, physically. When this guy said, is there anything we can do to help? She leaned forward a little bit and the chair toppled over. Literally, she fell out of her chair. The session was over and she comes over to me and she says, I'm not going to Utah. What's the point? They'll bring me here for an afternoon to find out what I might as well stay here. Do we believe in resurrection? It's not a matter of belief. Just like life continues logically and necessarily because a living thing can't die, the same is true with resurrection. It's necessary morally to assume that the body will be rewarded with the soul. So it's not just a matter of believing in some strange event that's going to happen. It's part of our morality. You don't reward the soul without the body if it couldn't do the mitzvah without the body. And since God is just, how could he not reward the body? So if we don't believe in resurrection, then we're basically saying that God is not just, that there is no justice. The body deserves a reward. In fact, the body deserves more of a reward than a soul, because a soul is a godly thing. It loves doing mitzvahs. So why does it deserve such a reward? It's only doing what it loves. But the body hates doing mitzvahs. Body hates doing anything. So when a body does a mitzvah, it really deserves a reward. And to not reward the body, that's just not nice. And God is nice. And so we believe in the resurrection of every Jewish soul and every righteous Gentile because it's only right. It wouldn't be right any other way. Now, the process of birth and death is explained very, very graphically in Torah and in Kabbalah. By the way, Kabbalah, I mean real Kabbalah, not the stuff Madonna dabbles in. Real Kabbalah is simply a section of Torah. Only it's the mystical section. So in the Torah it says that birth and death come in stages. They don't happen suddenly. How does birth happen? 40 days before conception, the angel announces that there's going to be a conception and a birth. It announces how long this soul is going to be in the body. It announces the type of life it's going to have. It announces who you're going to marry. That's before you're conceived. You're already married. Then it's just a question of finding him. or her. That is the beginning of the birth process. Here's a very interesting thing. If you look in the stories in the Torah, like for example, the birth of Isaac, the angel came to Sarah and said, "This time next year, you will have a son." The obvious question is, it doesn't take a year. Why is it always this time next year? 9 months, that's all it takes. It doesn't. The pregnancy takes 9 months. But before conception, the soul has to get used to the idea that it's going to come down into a body, into this world, and it has to adjust. It needs a little time to orient itself. It would be too shocking for conception to happen without warning. So it literally does take 12 months for a soul to be born. So we've all been here before. We're old hands at this. So when the resurrection happens, which body is our soul going to come back to? Some suggest that you get to pick the best parts of each body. Like a Mr. Potato Head, you can kind of... Every body did a mitzvah, so every body has to be rewarded. So which body will the soul come back into? All of them. They were all good. A soul can have more than one body. One soul can give life to many bodies. This explains a fascinating statement in the Medrash. The Medrash makes the following observation. If you look in the verse in the Torah, it says, "And the days drew near," or it drew near the days for Yaakov to die, which literally means he was close to death. But the Medrash takes it very literally and says, the days were going to die? That's what it sounds like if you translate it literally. It's like, the days were going to die. Yaakov's days were going to die. So the Medrash says, the days are going to die? And it answers the question. It says, that's right. Yaakov doesn't die, just the days die. You run out of days. You don't run out of life. So we really don't die. Our time is up. The time ran out. Not the soul, not the life, but the time that the soul was supposed to spend on earth, that ran out. That's a very Jewish and correct understanding of life and death. But I want to end with another incredible story. Personal experience. It was back in the 70s. I was in New York visiting. And I went up to one of the offices, the Rebbe's offices, the Rebbe's secretaries. And I found out that for the first time in about 30 years, they're rearranging the office. They still had dial phones, you know. But they were, for some reason, they were redecorating the office or something. So I pitched in and we were schlepping file cabinets around and moving desks. And as we're rolling this one cabinet, file cabinet, a file had slipped out of the drawer and was between the drawers. And when we leaned the cabinet forward, the file fell out. We picked it up. It was a manila file folder, and it had one letter in it. dated 1957. We read it. It was a letter to the Rebbe from a Dr. Jacobson, who lived in Manhattan. In the letter, Dr. Jacobson writes to the Rebbe, a terrible thing happened. A friend of mine, a Mr. Shapiro, a wealthy man, wanted to fulfill the mitzvah of writing a Torah. And so he hired a scribe, and he authorized him to write a new Torah scroll. The custom is that just before you finish the last line of the new Torah, you make a party, you invite a lot of people. It's the celebration of the conclusion of a Torah scroll. And then at the party, you fill in those last letters, and there's a big celebration. Mr. Shapiro asked Dr. Jacobson if the party could be held in Dr. Jacobson's apartment because it was larger than Mr. Shapiro's. And so there was a party. It was a great celebration, and at the party, there was a woman there, a single woman, young woman, who, it doesn't say in the letter, but she must have had an aneurysm, and all the doctors who were there could not help her, and she died at the party in Dr. Jacobson's apartment. Now, Dr. Jacobson writes to the Rebbe, my faith is fine. I have no questions, I have no problems. But people are asking me how do you explain this? A woman comes to a party celebrating Torah and dies? Where's the justice? Now, you know, of course, when a person says, I have no problem, but a friend of mine, you know already what that means, right? Some guy once came to a Rebbe and said, Rebbe, a friend of mine asked me to find out, how do you repent for committing adultery? So the Rebbe said, why didn't your friend come to ask himself? He said, well, he's embarrassed. He said, he doesn't have to be embarrassed. He can come and tell me that he has a friend. So the man admitted that it was him. So Dr. Jacobson says, I have no problem, but I have a friend, students particularly, who are asking me to explain how such a thing can happen. What should I tell them? And then as a giveaway, he says, and my second question is, why did it happen in my house? The way the Rebbe answered most letters is that he would write his answer in the margin of your letter. That way you save paper and you save time, and it's... So the Rebbe's answer was written in the margins of Dr. Jacobson's letter, right there. So after we finish reading Dr. Jacobson's letter, we read the Rebbe's answer. The Rebbe writes it out, and then the secretary types it up and mails it out. But here was the answer, and it's written very briefly. A, B, C, points. Here is the Rebbe's answer. A, why do human beings think that they can understand God? B, God asks us to try to understand Him, so let's try. C, when a person is born, there is an announcement made by the angel that says how long that person is going to live. With very rare exceptions, the person lives exactly that amount of years, to the day. If you do something so horrendous, so unthinkable, it could shorten the life, but that's very unusual. And if you do something so stupendous, so meritorious, it could lengthen your life, but that's rare. Generally, we live out the life we were given. Where are we up to? D. When the time comes and the person is finished with his life, death can happen in so many different ways. It can happen in very unpleasant circumstances, like a person alone in the streets. It can happen in a hospital where you have at least some caring doctors, some people who are interested, sensitive. It can happen with your family standing around. Different ways. Point E. Every detail of a person's last minutes in life are unimaginably meaningful. Your last breaths, of course, everything that's going on around you is very meaningful. There's a rabbi in Israel who did a class in Talmud. He's a brilliant man in all the sciences and in all of Torah. So all the professors come to the class. It's been going on for 15 years. But there was one professor who refused to come. He was invited, would not come to the class. One day the rabbi meets this professor at a party somewhere. And he says to him, "How come you don't come to the class? All your colleagues come. They love it. It's interesting. It's in your building. Come, you'll enjoy." This professor says, "I do not belong at a Talmud class." The rabbi says, "Why not?" He says, "Because you and me, we have nothing in common." So the rabbi said, "What are you saying? How can you say such a thing?" He says, "Since the day I arrived in Israel, I eat pork on Shabbos." He came out of the war, he was upset. "I eat pork every Shabbos." The rabbi said, "Only on Shabbos?" He says, "Yeah, dafke on Shabbos, in spite." So the rabbi says, "Well, in that case, we do have something in common." He says, "What?" He said, "We both celebrate Shabbos." I celebrate Shabbos in an old-fashioned way, and you celebrate Shabbos in an original. The professor started coming to the class. And he told his colleagues why he's coming to the class. He says, "That rabbi is very smart. I heard what he said to me. It wasn't just a joke." You hear what he said to me? He said to me like this, "Why do you eat pork?" "Because you're angry at God for the Holocaust." "So how do you get back at God?" "You do the most outrageous, un-Jewish thing you can think of." What is the most un-Jewish thing a person can think of? To eat pork. Because everybody knows a Jew doesn't eat pork. But it didn't feel like it was enough of a punishment. So you thought to yourself, how can I punish God a little more? So you thought, not on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm going to eat pork on Shabbos. That feels more like a punishment. So the rabbi was basically saying to me, you think you're not Jewish? You think we have nothing in common? You don't belong at a Talmud class? Listen to yourself. First of all, you believe in God. Otherwise, who are you angry at? Secondly, you believe that God gave the Torah. Otherwise, how do you know you're not allowed to eat pork? Thirdly, you know that Shabbos is a special day for God. Otherwise, why is that a bigger punishment? So you believe in God, you believe in the Torah, you believe that God runs the world and should have stopped the Holocaust, and you believe that Shabbos is a holy day. Listen to yourself, you're Orthodox. One more mitzvah, you're ultra. He says, and here I thought I wasn't Jewish anymore. We are an incredible people. And it doesn't, you can tell others also. It won't do any harm. We are an incredible people, and we take no credit for it. The fact that a Jew today says, yes, I'm Jewish, for that he deserves every reward in the world. Every blessing in the world he has just earned himself. If after 3,000 miserable years of suffering, you say you're Jewish, you're a hero. And you don't even think so. You think, nah, I'm a lousy Jew. We are incredible. God got a real bargain when he picked us. He probably didn't even expect us to last this long. On the other hand, what a compliment. If I was God, if I was God and I gathered a people at the foot of Mount Sinai and I wanted them to be my people and be Jewish and observe the mitzvahs, I would talk to them every day. No, are you doing it? I'd be such a nudnik. Okay, maybe not every day. How about once in 1,000 years? Doesn't he feel any need to come back and repeat himself? No? Not even once in 1,000 years? He lets 3,000 years go by and he says, yeah, they'll be Jewish. Isn't that a compliment? I called my children together one day. I thought, let me try this. I called them together and I said, listen carefully because I'm not going to repeat myself for 1,000 years. No fighting in the house. Garnish geholfen. But God tells us, be my people, be Jewish, keep mitzvahs, and then doesn't say it again for 3,000 years? Miserable years? And he's confident that we're still going to be Jewish? Boy, he's got a lot of confidence in us. And he's right. Because look, we're here. You're sitting here. It's not Shabbos, it's not Yom Kippur. You think it's Yom Kippur? No, it's not. It's Erev Pesach, by the way. And you come out here, why? Because you want to know about, what, community health? No, that's not what you came here because you're Jewish. And you heard something Jewish going on. You don't care whether it's about mental health, mental unhealth. You don't, as long as it's a Jewish program, you come running. Why? Because 3,000 years ago, your great-grandparents stood at Mount Sinai and God said, be my people, and we said, sure. We are really amazing people. Daniel Pearl, there's a movie being made of him, of his life now. Is that not a tzaddik? Is that not a hero? Why? What did he have to say? I'm Jewish, my father's Jewish, my mother's Jewish. What's his problem? His problem is he is insanely Jewish. He's a tzaddik. And we're all like that. And we don't even take credit. Say, nah, my grandfather was a good Jew. We are not good Jews, but we are great Jews. And therefore we deserve that after 3,000 years since Mount Sinai, we deserve that the world should become perfect the way God envisioned it. People should become good. God's will should prevail. The world should be as He wants it to be. Mashiach should come and catch us sitting here on a Sunday evening being Jewish for no reason at all. That's my phone. So let Mashiach come and catch us here being just Jewish, just plain Jewish. And let the world finally become good. And let them all come to learn. And we will be nice to them even though they haven't been nice to us. And we will gladly share our wisdom with them and teach them whatever they want to know. And then we will have a beautiful world, and all the souls in heaven who are impatiently waiting to come back will finally be able to come back and will be reunited with all of our loved ones and with all of our ancestors, the entire Jewish people, not just a generation, but all the generations of Jews together on earth forever in a perfect world under the leadership of Mashiach. May he come speedily, quickly, right now, before we all go home and mess up this perfect evening. Thank you very much. Shalom Aleichem. How are you? You know, I do a lot of talking, a lot of Zooming, many classes, many subjects, but that's all formal stuff. Hopefully good stuff, but formal. We also have a Wednesday night meeting that's more informal and kind of Hamish. If you want to join us for that kind of an event, interactive, time for questions and so on. If you want to join us for this side of conversation, click on the link below and join us every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Well, maybe not every Wednesday night, but we try to make it every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, a more informal chat, which can be more enjoyable at times than the formal stuff. So check it out. Click on the link and join us. Try it, you'll like it.